Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday night Dynasty Heat Seekers live stream. I'm your host, Bryce Frazier, and I'm joined by the always reliable Anthony Leone. Leone, how was your I know your team didn't do too well, but how was your week one fantasy situation?
I don't know how reliable I am. I wasn't here last week.
Oh, but you gave a 2-week notice on that. That's
yeah,
plenty of time.
I guess
that's
so.
Reliability. That's being reliable still.
All right. Fair enough. Overall, I had a very good fantasy week. I didn't win every game. I don't know anyone who probably won every game, but I mean, in as many leagues as I'm in, I won 75% of my week one matchups. Most of them, pretty high stakes leagues. My $150 league. That's why I wasn't here last week. I did that draft, and I have a really good team. I stomped. So overall, I'm really happy with week one. It's good to finally see some ball again, like some real meaningful football. Although I don't know what Denver was doing last night. That was ridiculous. I don't know if you saw the end of that game. What were they doing there kicking the field goal? But
I did not get to see the end of it, but I mean, they basically lost. They beat themselves because, I mean, both Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams fumbled on the 1-yard line.
Yeah.
And then I heard the clock management was extremely horrible at the end of the game.
It was
a 64-yarder.
It was bizarre. It was bizarre. It made no sense to me watching it. The coach today came out and said, "Yeah, we probably should have not kicked the field goal there." So
yeah,
I'm guessing he has a lot of heat, but. As you know, the NFL, I mean, it moves quickly. It's 2 days is going to be Thursday Night Football, and no one's going to talk about it anymore. So, But we have a lot to talk about from week one. So happy to get into that.
Yeah, let's get into some news and notes. So, I mean, unless you live under a rock, obviously you're aware of some of these major injuries, especially these fantasy relevant ones. I think the big one, especially when we're talking about dynasty, especially in super flex leagues, is obviously Dak Prescott. With a broken thumb. He already received surgery on it, but is expected to be out at least 6 to 8 weeks. Jerry Jones has said that they're not going to put him on IR because when you get put on IR, you're guaranteed to be, 4 weeks, right? Or
4.
So he is thinking maybe he can be back before that, which seems like Russell Wilson. They tried to do that with Russell Wilson last year, and it didn't look pretty. So you would think they just want to maybe let their star quarterback rest up, make sure he's fully healthy before returning back to action. But the Cowboys are kind of in that weird situation where they have the talent, you would think, to maybe, compete in the playoffs and things like that. So maybe that's why Jerry Jones doesn't want Dak to see the bench. But what do you make of Dak Prescott's injury, and what are your predictions on the replacement? Like, do you just think they're going to run with Cooper Rush, or do you see maybe I'm hearing a lot of news about a potential Cam Newton situation. What are your thoughts?
I think they're going to go with Cooper Rush, at least to start. They'll see how he does this next week. If it looks really, really bad, maybe they'll explore other options. But I think, going into this week, I think that's the angle they're going to take with it. They're very obviously optimistic Dak will be back. I'm not as optimistic, but I've seen crazier things happen. So I'll give the team the benefit of the doubt. They're going to roll with Cooper Rush, who started a game last year and didn't do too bad, if you recall. I think that was on Halloween. So, I guess we'll see how he does this week. I think it really hurts everyone else on that offense. If you have Schultz, you're not feeling good. Obviously, if you have Lamb, he didn't have a great game to begin with Dak. Now you take out Dak, it can't get any better. So that's a bad spot for Lamb. Zeke and Pollard. I mean, they're not going to be really moving the ball that well. If you have some of these Cowboys players that you're relying on, it's going to get ugly. So the best you can do is just hope for the best. If you have other options on your bench, that's something to consider. Like, for example, this week, would you start? Well, I guess we're going to talk about Godwin soon, but Godwin's not playing this week. Would you start Julio Jones this week over CeeDee Lamb, Bryce?
No.
You wouldn't?
No, I don't. I don't think I can because I mean, Chris Godwin really didn't play this whole last game, and like Julio did all right. But CeeDee Lamb is just like you got to play the talented dude that's still probably going to see them. I mean, CeeDee Lamb saw 11 targets, only 2 catches. Like that is extremely poor performance for that amount of targets. With Cooper Rush in there, like I expect the Cowboys to be in situations where they're passing a lot. I do think this is actually not terrible for Zeke because they're going to have to try and establish the run game. And in that game, like the run game looked pretty good. Like I feel like that they abandoned it too early. I don't know why, because they didn't really get behind that far. Zeke was averaging, I believe, 6 yards a carry. Tony Pollard was the plays they ran for Tony Pollard were getting blown up way in the backfield because they try and do those little like sideline runs or whatever, jet sweeps or whatever that were just getting blown up. But Zeke looked fresh and good. So I think they got to establish this run game. So I think this is good in the sense of I think Zeke's going to see at least 15 touches now. But like if you're Cooper Rush, who are you going to throw it to, right? It's got to be Dalton Schultz and CeeDee Lamb. Like there's no other guys. So I think their targets will still be there. I just am concerned about the quality of those targets without Dak Prescott being back there, especially for Dalton Schultz. Like Dak Prescott and Dalton Schultz have some really good chemistry. But I mean, for the CeeDee Lamb game, it really can't get any worse. So this arguably might be his worst performance, even with his starting quarterback out there.
Yeah.
But I'm starting CeeDee Lamb. It's going to be hard to bench him until I see maybe another week or two.
I think in a couple weeks is going to be pretty easy.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think he'll be all right. Like I think he might be quarterback proof. Like as long as he continues to get volume, like there's going to be these games like 11 targets for 2 receptions, but I don't see that like consistently. I can still see him pushing about 10 targets with Cooper Rush back there.
Okay. So. Yeah, we might have to do a bet. We might have to do a Julio versus CeeDee Lamb bet. I'd be down for that. We can talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah. In other news, Eli Mitchell is going to be out, I believe, 8 weeks. He had a knee sprain. Out at least 8 weeks is what I'm hearing. Big shocker, a 49ers running back gets hurt, right? I mean, it's been like this for like the last 5 years. It seems like nobody can stay healthy back there. You would assume that Jeff Wilson immediately takes over as the starter. You're the 49ers fan. Is Jeff Wilson now the guy that people are scrambling to pick up in waiver wires, especially in I know it's a dynasty show, but redraft leagues, he's on the waiver wires a lot. But in some dynasty leagues, he could be out there. Might be unlikely unless your rosters aren't super deep. Is Jeff Wilson going to be a guy that's worth starting?
No, I wouldn't start him this week. I have him on a number of rosters. I don't think he's going to crack my starting lineup anywhere, but he is the guy. If I was in a spot where I needed someone, he would be a guy I'd feel pretty comfortable starting as a flex option. The Niners always produce good backs. Shanahan really likes Jeff Wilson, what he brings to the table. So I think if you're desperate for a start, I think Wilson would do fine as a flex. But if I had a chance to wait a week to kind of see how it shakes out, I would prefer to do that. Tyrion Davis-Price was inactive last week. Jordan Mason is there too. So, I mean, I think it could very well shape up to be a very, very heavy committee backfield, especially when you consider Trey Lance and Deebo Samuel getting carries as well. So Jeff Wilson is the priority add if he's available, but I would not go out of my way to start him this week. I'd want to see how it shakes out. But if I was desperate and needed a flex, I'd be okay starting him in that position.
Okay. I have a question. I'll have a question for you later because we'll talk about a guy and I'll bring up Jeff Wilson in this question. So we'll table that until later. And then last little guys to talk about. Chris Godwin and is that who's K? Oh, Keenan Allen both have hamstring injuries.
Yeah.
It looks like they're not going to be very long that they're out. Like Chris Godwin's luckily doesn't look to be as serious as they originally thought. And Keenan Allen is doubtful for this Thursday, which if he's doubtful for Thursday, you would expect that, the following Sunday, he could very well be back.
Maybe.
We'll see. We'll definitely keep an eye on that. Keenan Allen is an older back. As Leone would say, when they get older like that, they don't heal as fast. So definitely some guys to keep an eye on. Chris Godwin shouldn't have played this week anyway. but it's good that he didn't re-aggravate something that was already bothering him. It's a completely different, like it's his hamstring instead of his knee. But again, it just goes to show that this guy is just injury prone. Even though he's extremely talented, it seems like every time he's on the field, you're like, as a fantasy owner, you get kind of nervous when the ball's in his hands because like he cannot stay healthy.
Bryce, I know you're like 22 years old, but listen, I was playing basketball.
20, I'm like 26.
Okay, I was playing basketball over 2 weeks ago, and I jammed my pinky. It still hurts. Over 2 weeks ago. And it's like you get older, and it's like you start hurting for no reason. You can't heal. Have you seen Pujols? I know this is obviously not a baseball stream. Have you seen Pujols start like ripping all these home runs all of a sudden? It's like, he's got to be taking something to like get to that 700 home run mark, because it's like at this age, like guys, you just don't do that. And right. I feel it, man. I feel it in my pinky. So, Keenan Allen's not playing this week. I don't think Godwin's playing this week. They may not play the following week after that. Who knows? But it could be 1 to 3 weeks for both these guys. So just keep that in mind. Try to find other options at least 2 to 3 weeks out if you're relying on them.
Okay. With that being said, we'll get into this week's topic, which are studs and duds or flame and shame, kind of guys that did better than expected or definitely disappointed. And before we get into it, those that are in the chat asking questions, we will get to those at the end of the show. So please stay tuned because we will answer these questions here
very thoroughly too. I'm already racking my brain.
30 to 40 minutes. Yeah, there's some good ones in here. So
I love it.
I'm definitely excited to get to them. So Mr. Leone, I will hand it off to you. We'll start at quarterback. Go ahead and talk about both. Talk about the guy that did really well, and then talk about the guy that maybe disappointed with the expectations that they were set at this week.
Well, Josh Allen just set the world on fire. I mean, in the very first game of the NFL season, he destroyed the Rams. I mean, yeah, he did have a couple picks, but he only threw like 5 incomplete passes. He threw almost 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He ran the ball. I think he got a rushing score as well. I mean, he was just on fire. I mean, talk about a fantasy flame. I think Patrick Mahomes may have bested him on the fantasy point total. But nonetheless, I mean, Josh Allen just killing it. Everyone around him is getting points, with the exception of one player we may talk about later. Wink, wink. But yeah, I mean, Josh Allen just automatic. It doesn't matter the matchup. This was against the Rams. People were worried about a tough defense. It doesn't matter. He's automatic. In redraft, if you have a backup quarterback, trade him, drop him. You don't need him. Just roll Josh Allen. You'll be good. Yeah. For shame, my boy Trey Lance. Not a good game. Now I know the weather was bad. I watched the game. It was pouring. I mean, it was just a mess out there. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen so much rain in Chicago on TV. It was bad. So he was 15 of 28, only 164 yards passing. He did get 13 rushes for 54 yards, so that at least salvaged his day. He did throw an interception. The most concerning thing, though, for Trey Lance and someone who has watched him through the preseason, I've watched him in his starts last season, he overthrows people, and he doesn't read through his progressions. It's like he looks down at one guy, and then he's off to running. It's really similar to Colin Kaepernick. And I'm telling you, a lot of it's super flex leagues. He was going in the first round. I know you and I both were like, whoa. Way too risky to do that. Unnecessary. Why take Trey Lance in the first round when you can get Justin Fields in the third round when they're basically the same guy? So that's kind of what we were saying. It's kind of coming through here already, week 1. I will say, I mean, at least his rushing floor will keep you afloat. It's just not enough for what you paid to get him, though. And you can't trade him. I mean, no one's going to pay for him what he's worth at this point. You kind of just have to hope he has a good game this week against Seattle. He should have a good week. He's home. It won't be raining. I mean, everything should line up. Kittle should be back. there's really no excuses this week. So this is a huge test for Trey Lance. I think he'll do okay, but boy, am I worried. And if I have another option I could start instead, I would probably lean that direction until I see Lance deliver.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Obviously, Josh Allen, like if you're in any sort of 1 QB league, if it's dynasty, obviously you can hold on to a second quarterback if you have deeper rosters and look to trade them. But if it's like a redraft league, I mean, there's no point of even rostering another quarterback because it doesn't matter the matchup. Like you're only going to have to pick up a quarterback one time, and that's for his bye week, right? So, I mean, 100%. And I expect to see this continued dominance. Like the Rams defense is good. Like it didn't look good, but it is good. That's just how good Josh Allen is. Like he looks like the best quarterback in the league. He and Pat Mahomes, I think, look like the best quarterback in the leagues, and they didn't. It's really not close for me. Like this after this week 1 performance, and then Trey Lance. I mean, I saw this coming. I mean, I think we both did kind of from a mile away. His rushing upside is the only thing that's going to salvage his fantasy performances. We're not too invested in his passing abilities. Reading through the progression looks like a problem. Where Justin Fields, at least, like it seems like when he was almost taken off to run, he was like looking downfield. And another guy that really did a good job of that was Gino Smith last night. Like I'm not going to talk about him much, but again, just a guy where it's like you would think that they weren't good enough because they couldn't read through progression. And when things got dicey back there and they had to, scramble or maneuver around, they still had their eyes downfield. And I see more of that from Justin Fields. So I would much rather have him than Trey Lance in any sort of format at this
and
point.
let me just quickly say, I mean, look, in Dynasty, you can have patience with Lance. He just doesn't have the experience yet. He doesn't have a quarter of the starts Justin Fields has, especially when you consider his college profile. He hasn't really started that many games even in college. Mm-hmm. So he's going to need some time. He should look rough. It's really interesting that the team would put him out there when it looks like he's not ready. And they have Garoppolo still on their roster, who obviously is NFL ready, got them to the NFC Championship game last year. He got them to the Super Bowl, I think the year prior. So it's like, what are these guys, why are they doing this? I don't really know. Niners are my team, but man, if you have Lance right now, you got to just hope for a good week this weekend because everything's kind of set up for him to do at least well. So we'll see.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and jump into my my two quarterbacks. The guy that was on fire, Carson Wentz, 27 for 41. 4 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions as well. But, I feel like this guy blew the expectations out of the water. But who Carson Wentz really reminds me of, especially fantasy-wise, is like Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like, he's always good for, like, some of them crazy good games, like, every year. But he's always going to, he's going to disappoint more than he, exceeds. So where, like, if he's throwing it 41 times a game, that's great and all, but I'm not expecting 4 touchdowns very often. But I am, if he's throwing 41 times, I would think that there's going to be a lot of picks. So, is this a guy that if it's a super flex, if I'm a competitor, I'm probably just going to hold on to him because ideally he's your quarterback too, especially if you're a competitor. But if I'm not trying to compete and I have Carson Wentz, I'd be looking to unload him at this point to a competing team that might be a little, their quarterback situation might be a little iffy. Maybe they had Dak Prescott, and they still want to compete. Hey, here's Carson. Here's our starting quarterback for this year to win the ship. See what you could see max value you could get out of it. And then my quarterback that disappointed this week was also in that Thursday night game, Matt Stafford. 29 for 41. He did throw 1 touchdown, but he threw 3 interceptions, and that was his issue last year, right? Was turning the ball over. He tied the the league last year with Trevor Lawrence when it came to interceptions thrown. So he's not off to a good start this year. That team just looked bad. It seemed like he just honed in on one wide receiver, which is obviously Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp's always going to get his. But I feel like for this team to be successful and get back to Super Bowl caliber level, they're gonna have to get some of these guys that are just more talented involved, like Allen Robinson, Cam Akers, like for example, like I didn't understand that situation. We'll talk about him later, but for this offense to get more involved, we're gonna have to see more than just Cooper Kupp getting 20 targets out of Matthew Stafford's 40. They're gonna have to get some of these more talented guys involved. Anything you want to talk about with Carson Wentz and Matt Stafford?
Well, I disagree with you on Wentz. I think if you're not competing, I think you can hold on to Wentz. If you don't get a fair offer for him, I wouldn't look to quickly unload him. I mean, this guy's not even 30 years old. This may be the best offensive unit he has in his career. And people never really talked about it before the season started because there were so many question marks. But think about it. If Jahan Dotson is legit, he has Terry McLaurin, who's obviously legit, but he has Jahan Dotson. I mean, really a 1A, 1B type situation. And you have a playmaker like Curtis Samuel who he's really good when he's healthy. I mean, it's
you think Jahan Dotson's a 1C or 1B?
I think he can be, sure. And it looks great.
Yeah, he just got the touchdowns, right? Like if you I know that you can't take him away, but he didn't have the targets or the volume that I would want.
It's his first game.
I know, but he still didn't have those targets or volume, so I think that's premature to call him 1B.
But Curtis Samuel was involved.
Huh?
You're disrespecting Curtis Samuel too.
I like Curtis Samuel more than I like Jahan Dotson's usage in the offense. Curtis Samuel saw way more volume. Like I would almost consider him. Like I'd put Jahan behind him just based on the volume they receive because you can't bank on 2 touchdowns every week. Like when I'm having these wide receivers, especially there, I want the guy that's getting the most targets. Like
so the way I look at this, and this is I have Jahan Dotson on a lot of my redraft teams, and I'm considering adding Curtis Samuel, right? But I think who's more likely to help you win a championship? Is it Curtis Samuel or Jahan Dotson later in the season? For me, it's Jahan Dotson. I think Curtis Samuel may get better run now early on, but by midway to halfway to the end of the season, I think Jahan Dotson is going to take a huge step forward. And that's why all I'm saying is this team is very underrated, and they were extremely underrated in the offseason. And I think we're going to see Wentz have a really good season and maybe even one of his best seasons outside of his best season. I think we're going to see that type of Wentz this season. So I would not be looking to get rid of him. I think we need to see what we have here. As for Stafford, yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said on Stafford. I think he'll be okay. Buffalo is a really good defense. So he was getting pressure. I mean, it was just a bad game. I think we're going to see a better version of Stafford going forward. Yeah. I wouldn't worry too much about Stafford.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it, but it was just worth noting that he had an extremely disappointing performance.
Yeah.
But I'll have to disagree with the Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson. I think I'd rather have Curtis Samuel with the usage I'm seeing so far. I just 11 targets week 1. He led the team, and it wouldn't surprise me to see just like the way Carson Wentz plays, like, and the way that offense runs, like it seems like they like these smaller routes where guys can make plays after the fact, and that's what Curtis Samuel is just good at. Issue is he needs to stay healthy.
So in redraft, if you had to, you would drop Jahan Dotson for Curtis Samuel. If you had no other drop, you would make that move.
I probably would, yeah.
Woo! No way, not me, buddy. Yeah. That's a hard question, huh?
That's a hard one. I mean, it's close, but I just, again, 11 targets. Like, he found the end zone as well. Like, I see it continuing. At least the ball. I think he's going to dominate them in volume. So, all right. Well, I'll jump into my running backs. So we have even more questions in the chat, and if you weren't here earlier, we will answer some of these questions, guys, at the end. Just give them
all of the questions.
We'll answer all
of the questions.
I just saw one that had the guy I'm about to talk about in it. So big game for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. 42 rushing yards, and he had 2 receiving touchdowns along with 3 catches and 33 yards. Now, he only had 10 touches this game. That's the thing that is a little concerning for me. So the reason I put him on my studs radar is I think in most formats I would be looking to trade Clyde Edwards-Hilaire. Like the rookie running back, I can't really pronounce his last name.
Pacheco.
Pacheco. I think he's just far more talented. And I think that we're slowly going to see him get more and more and more involved in that offense to where, like, it's going to become a 50-50. He might actually saw more touches week 1, but it was a blowout, so they might have had, like, the backups in. But Clyde Edwards-Hilaire seeing only 10 touches, like, he's going to have to see a touchdown or 2 every week to have the upside or the performance that he did this week. Like, that's just not enough volume for a starting running back for me. So if you do have Clyde Edwards-Hilaire, whether you drafted him in that 2019 draft where you probably drafted him too high, or maybe the 2018 draft, one of those years where you probably drafted him too high and you're thinking maybe you see some return on him, this might be the time to try and sell him. If you drafted him in redraft, you probably got him as a running back 3, unless you really went hard on all the other positions and he's your running back 2. Maybe you can trade him for a running back that maybe didn't do as well, or some other guys. Like I'd be looking like at Rashad Penny. I've been looking at that guy a lot this week for guys I want to trade for.
You would trade CEH for Rashad Penny straight up?
I think so. Yeah. You got to remember Rashad Penny last year. I think out of his last 4 or 5 games, he rushed for 140 yards plus in 3 or 4 of them. And then, the Broncos defense is good. Like, it's not like they went up against some scrub defense. And Pete Carroll will never abandon the run game. Like, he just won't. He wouldn't let Russ cook. That's why Russ got out of there. So Rashad Penny's usage is going to be there. So I think I know that Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's touchdowns upside is much higher, but I think Rashad Penny might see double the amount of touches that Clyde Edwards-Hilaire does by the end of this year. It's just, it's just a guy I've been looking for. So something to think about. And then the guy that disappointed this week, Derrick Henry, 21 carries for 82 yards, absolutely no touchdowns and no receptions. Definitely concerning because Derrick Henry, usually, and he got lit up. I don't know if you saw that highlight hit of him getting absolutely decleated by a linebacker. It was kind of nice because I've got some Titan friends that just don't shut up about Derrick Henry. So it's good to send them that meme or whatever. But absolutely not involved in the pass game at all, in a game where it's not like that they were just running the clock out or anything like that, and then didn't find the end zone. Derrick Henry's getting old, and it looks like he's not looking quite as explosive as he has in the past. So I think it's something to be concerned about a little bit. Obviously, I think this is going to be one of his worst performances this year, but I think those days of him getting 28 to 35 points, relatively consistent on a relatively consistent basis, are over. I think he falls on the low end of the running back 1's totem pole. Up kind of down to the high running back 2 situation moving forward. What are your thoughts on Clyde Edwards-Hilaire and Derrick Henry?
Okay, Bryce, I love you, buddy, but no, I'm not trading Clyde Edwards-Hilaire for Rashad Penny.
Why?
In any format.
Why?
Just any format. I'm not. Because
just touchdown upside only? Is that it?
I'm sorry? What was that?
Just touchdown upside only?
Well, it's that, but also Kenneth Walker wasn't active last night. Rashad Penny only saw 12 rushes. I mean, if he's the only back on this team in a competitive game throughout the whole game, and he only gets 12 carries, and Ken Walker wasn't even active. Now, if they're saying Ken Walker's going to play this week, I mean, they're going to have more of a committee.
Well, there's no committee. It's not like there's no committee.
There'll be a timeshare, of course. And Gino Smith rushes the ball as well.
Gino Smith did not have. He had one design run that entire game.
Okay, well he still ran the ball for
I know, but it's not like you're dropping back and using design runs with the quarterback. Like Rashad Penny got.
So instead they
14 carries in that game.
Instead they only have 12 designed runs for Rashad Penny throughout the whole game. And Ken Walker wasn't even active.
Again, this is not like this is a stout. The Broncos defense, the front seven is one of the best in the NFL at run stuffing. Like you're not going to see many teams have a.
But that's not even the issue. He still averaged 5 yards a carry. The issue was he didn't get the ball. He didn't get the ball, and it was a competitive game throughout. I mean, you watched
that offense did not look good. Like they had 2 good drives that entire game. The Seahawks. That's it. Like people are blowing the Seahawks game out of proportion. The Seahawks had 2 good drives this entire game. Both touchdowns were on all-out blitzes that Gino Smith found the unguarded guy.
So you're willing to take a running back in Clyde Edwards-Helaire and trade him for a running back in Rashad Penny, who's on a bad offense. For 4 quarters, they only had 2 drives worth of damn. I don't see it.
One of the best defense. You're acting like this isn't one of the best defenses in the league. This is one of the best defenses in the league. The Broncos are a good defense. Like that. What's that division? What is the Seahawks division? Like they're not good defenses in that division.
In the Seahawks division?
Yeah.
The Niners? The Rams?
I mean, the Rams did not look that great against the run against the.
They're the best team in the league. They're the Super Bowl favorites. Come on.
They're not the Super Bowl favorites anymore. That might have been preseason Super Bowl
No,
favorites.
they're
not the Super Bowl
Bills?
favorites anymore. Bills aren't in that division? Oh, Bills are Super Bowl favorites.
No, I know, but that's why they're Super Bowl favorites, and that's why they beat up on the Rams.
You'll see. You'll see that Rashad Penny. I'll make a bet that Rashad Penny finishes over Clyde Edwards-Helaire any day of the week.
No, I would not bet on that. I would not bet on that. But that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to disagree. Get 2 different viewpoints. I love it. Who's your other guy you picked? Oh, Henry. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing that's weird. I mean, you call Penny a flame and Derrick Henry a shame.
I did not call Penny a flame. I liked his usage. Penny passed the eye test. I'll say that. He passed the eye test. His box score obviously didn't pass anything. His fantasy points didn't, catch your eye. But if you watched him play, he caught the eye test. He just looks explosive for me.
All right, that's okay. We can agree to disagree. I think Henry.
I think Henry 3-yard shovel passes touchdowns every week. That's all. That's the only way he's gonna have to get. He's gonna have to have a.
And I think you're going to see a lot of games where Rashad. I think you're going to see a lot more games where Rashad Penny doesn't score a touchdown. Even in a game where they actually win.
Involved in the pass game for sure. We'll see.
We'll see.
Right. Go ahead to your running backs.
That was fun.
We'll have to speed up through these running backs.
I know. All right, my running backs. Okay, Flame, Saquon Barkley, dude, come on. Electric. He looks like his rookie season. He was all over the field. I mean, he was catching the ball. He had six grabs. He was running all over everyone. He even got the 2-point convert. I mean, look, dude is a stud. If you were able to acquire him in the offseason, you are just on cloud 9 right now. Saquon is literally a league winner. Like, this is the definition of a league winner, especially in redraft leagues where you're getting him in the second, maybe even late second, third round. I mean, I was scooping him early second everywhere, but man, he is just going to pay dividends, I think. I mean, obviously, he has to stay healthy. All these guys have to stay healthy. So I just think Barkley is just in a great spot. The only concern I had with the Giants was the usage of Kadarius Toney. I don't know what that was about.
Well,
he only got the ball
he didn't practice all training camp, so
yeah.
I didn't expect him to be on the field. I expected him to be on the field more than
plays?
He was. But
but
he was on the field for 7 snaps.
Okay, all right, fair enough. And then for shame, Cam Akers, 3 rushes, 0 yards. It looks like Darrell Henderson is the lead back now on this team. I don't know if that's just because they're disappointed in Cam Akers' effort. Maybe he's getting Ayuk'd, from last year with Ayuk, kind of getting in the doghouse. So I'm not.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So by the end of the year, Cam Akers could certainly emerge. I think he's a good buy low. I know this is a shame show, and for shame, Cam Akers, do not start him this week. Probably not going to start him in the foreseeable future, but especially in Dynasty, only in Dynasty, I would take a buy low chance on him. I think in redraft, he would be too expensive, not really worth the risk. But in Dynasty, I still think he's a good buy, especially now if you can get him on a cheap deal. So Cam Akers, for shame, you are going to get shamed. Put a cone on his head, get him out of here. But I think maybe by the end of the year, we could see the roles flip around.
Yeah, I think Cam Akers is probably one of the biggest disappointments week one. I had both a lot of Saquon and Cam Akers, so they kind of canceled each other out, which was good for me. But, you're talking about if you bought Saquon in the offseason, you're on cloud nine. Remember I told you that big trade I made in the offseason was I traded super flex, so I was hurting at quarterback bad. I only had Mac Jones. I traded Jonathan Taylor in a first-round pick for Saquon and Russell Wilson, and it's really looking pretty good for me because, I really don't think that, Jonathan if you look at history, running backs don't finish RB1 2 years in a row, right? So it kind of opens the door for all these other guys. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's a handful of guys in there. And I thought the top of my list to finish there, if he stayed healthy, is Saquon Barkley, because that whole offense is going to utilize him if they want to compete. And I feel like that if the Giants, keep using him and stay in these games and keep winning, it's their division with the Eagles to compete for, right? So I expect the Eagles to pull away, but you give your studs the ball, and I think Brian Daboll is going to be a great head coach. So I think we're going to see Kadarius Toney get used more, and then Saquon's usage is just going to continue. Huge guy. I've been big on this offseason. Even I've been big on Saquon since he came out of the draft. So to see him put up these numbers week one was great for me. And Cam Akers, again, I think excellent choice to buy low, especially in dynasty situations. Offer some seconds. Why not? It can't hurt to offer it. See what they say. Throw a third in or something like that. If they want a first, that's too much. So I think it's a buy low. See if you can buy him for some second round picks. I expect him to take over eventually. I just don't know when that's going to be. I think he'll have a much bigger role in this softer matchup against Atlanta next week. So if he can get the ball in his hands and prove that he is the better running back than Darrell Henderson, which he is, we're going to see Cam Akers bounce back. I guess he can't do any worse.
He could do worse.
No, I don't think he can.
He could do worse.
You'd have to fumble.
He could fumble. He could lose yards. He could do worse.
All right, I'll jump into my wide receivers real quick. Dude, that just was caught on fire, and another guy I've been big on this offseason, Michael Pittman Jr. 9 catches, 121 yards, and a touchdown. Dude's going to get peppered, I think, this entire season. I think he is another guy that might be a league winner for a lot of people. He's going to take a huge step this year. I think top eight is definitely a path for him in wide receiver for fantasy this year. Really like Michael Pittman Jr., just the volume that he receives along with the talent. And then my guy that disappointed was DJ Moore. 3 catches for 43 yards. And, and the concern for me is the Baker Mayfield effect, right? Where these talented wide receivers, the number one wide receivers on offense that he's on, just don't really produce at a high level. And these number 2 or 3 wide receivers kind of do. Robbie Anderson saw a great week. He was a guy that I consider talking about. But I think he had over 100 yards and a touchdown, just over 20 fantasy points, where a stud like DJ Moore just didn't produce. So I'm a little concerned about DJ Moore in more in redraft settings. Dynasty, I'm not too concerned, but it would suck if I had a competing roster and I was hoping DJ Moore could be a consistent 12 to 18 point guy week in and week out, to where now his floor is much lower with Baker Mayfield on the field than honestly Sam Darnold. It seemed like Sam Darnold targeted him more. It is week 1, so I'm not looking too much into it, but if you're looking at the past, there's a trend with the top one wide receiver with Baker Mayfield just doesn't produce as well. So any thoughts on Pittman Jr. and DJ Moore?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, with Pittman obviously, and then with DJ Moore, I'm extremely concerned about him in redraft. Dynasty, like you said, not as concerned about it, but even still, I mean, if Baker has a decent year and he sticks around next year, like that, this could be really bad for DJ Moore. He could be very inconsistent. He's already had such a rough go to his career. Never really had a great quarterback, and it's too bad he gets stuck in these bad spots. We could see it again for a little while now. It's too bad.
All right, go ahead and go into your 2 wide receivers.
Okay. Well, I'm getting all the easy guys. Look, Justin Jefferson, PPR scoring, number 1 fantasy scorer this week. 9 catches, 184 yards, 2 tutties. Dude, just on fire. I mean, talk about a flame. People thought Cooper Kupp had a great week 1, and then all of a sudden Justin Jefferson shows up on Sunday and just blows them out of the water.
In the first half.
Yeah, just unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you have Justin Jefferson, you're not trading him. You feel really good about it. Good on you. Great pick in the first round. You in redraft, a lot of people went running back. You decided, no, I'm going to go wide receiver, and so far it's paid off. So that's great if you have him. For shame. Mike Williams, 2 catches, 10 yards. Mike Williams, Mr. Inconsistent. Now, we already talked about Keenan Allen being banged up, missing this week on Thursday. I think he's a must start. I mean, I think if you have Mike Williams, he's a must start. You have to find a way to get him into your lineup. Now, with that said, he may have a good game. If he doesn't, that's extra concerning. I think he will, especially without Keenan Allen there. It's going to be hard for him not to rack up at least 5 catches. So he should, PPR basis, you should be looking at easy 10 points, easy. But it's, this is what we talked about all the time with Mike Williams. He's really inconsistent. So when Keenan Allen is back, it's like, oh boy, here we go. You got to ride the Mike Williams train. So, hopefully now he's going to have a good game in a couple days from now, and he can maybe move that momentum forward. But keep in mind, Mike Williams is always inconsistent. He always has been, always, I think, will be. So just good luck. Hold on tight because it's going to be a ride. Bryce?
Yeah, Mike Williams, a guy I've been avoiding. Like, I just avoided him like the plague. So to see him put up those numbers, like, doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Like, I'm just not even, like, you say he's a must start, and I get it. Like, if Keenan Allen's not there, you would think Mike Evans, sees the targets. But I think just the way, like, his style of play is just like Keenan Allen's a route runner, right? Like, he's just like that guy that has the route running, and Herbert's going to put it to where he's supposed to be all the time, where I feel like Mike Williams is more like a big play guy. So I would be trying to look into start him, but there's just, I feel like he would be in a lot of start sit questions. So obviously we won't get him on Sunday because they play on Thursday, but
all right, well, let me do a quick name.
Go ahead, give me one.
Let me give you one. All right. Mike Williams or Cortland Sutton?
I'll take Cortland Sutton.
Okay, Mike Williams or Gabe Davis?
Gabe Davis.
This is without Keenan Allen, Thursday night.
Yes, I'm
okay.
Aware.
Against Kansas City, should be a high-scoring game.
It should be, but Kansas City always does better against quarterbacks and wide receivers than people think.
All right, last one. Mike Williams or Terry McLaurin at Detroit?
Terry McLaurin.
Really? Okay, all right.
Look how many points Detroit just let up against them.
No, I understand.
Right? So, and
Amon-Ra, St. Brown, or Mike Williams.
Oh, that's Amon-Ra.
Oh, man. Whoa.
All right. I definitely would expect Amon-Ra to get way more targets than Mike Williams. Like, for
the record, so there's full disclosure, I would start Mike Williams over everyone I just said.
Really?
Just without Keenan Allen playing on Thursday against Kansas City, I am all for.
Who's Kansas City going to lock on defense in the secondary? Like, who else do you really have to be concerned about, like, to make the big plays, right?
I mean, Austin Eckler.
The secondary doesn't really guard Austin Eckler.
Joshua Palmer.
Right, but that's not the number one. Here's these freaking sick. Look at these things in the chat. It's so annoying.
Gerald Everett.
There we go. Yeah, Gerald Everett, but
Mike Williams is gonna have a good game. So I know he's my shame.
I think
guy
he'll have an average game at best. I don't see a big ceiling play for me.
No, he's.
We'll see. Well, I'll be messaging you on Friday morning. Where's Mike Williams at? Okay, let's finish up with these tight ends so we got plenty of questions.
All right.
Go ahead and jump into your tight ends.
Okay, well, for me, my flame is Taysom Hill. I know it sounds crazy. I would have never imagined saying this. If we could have done like 100 like preps prior to Sunday, and Taysom Hill wouldn't have made my list. Like, there's no way. But dude, look, it's like a cheat code again for Taysom Hill. He's not at quarterback now; he's at running back. It's like this guy just finds a way to get on the field.
These rushing stats he took at quarterback.
Yeah, well, all Wildcat.
Yeah.
And, he had four. I know. So he had 4 rushes, 81 yards, touchdown. He even caught the ball, though. He had a catch.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that, when you compare, look, okay, let me put it this way. The shame of the week for me is Dawson Knox. 1 catch, 5 yards. Now, Dawson Knox, he's on a really good offense, but there's a lot of mouths to feed. So you're going to have these games where he only catches 1 ball or 2 passes, 3 passes. Who would you rather start? Taysom Hill, who is going to get at least 5 rushes or 5 touches, I should say, based on
in the red zone.
He's going to be, a goal line back, it seems, especially in these packages, maybe 2-point conversions, things like that. Or would you rather start someone like Dawson Knox, who could just totally disappear on a night just like we saw against the Rams? I mean, they put up over 30 points. He had 1 catch. I mean, for me, I'm going to go with the guy who I think has a higher chance to score, who's going to get the ball, and for me, it's Taysom Hill. So, like, in this situation, I would start Taysom Hill over Dawson Knox. Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to start Taysom Hill over, Darren Waller or anything like that. I mean, I'm not going to get too crazy. But when we're talking about these guys past, like the top 7 tight ends, I mean, from 8 to 20, I mean, all those tight ends are about the same when you really think about it. I mean, Njoku, Knox, I think maybe Freiermuth, I might go with Freiermuth over Hill, but Hill's right at that like top 10-ish point where
he's right outside looking in.
Yeah, and I feel pretty comfortable starting him. I think he's a good waiver ad in redraft leagues. I think he's a good waiver ad in dynasty leagues if he's out there. I went through most of my leagues. It looks like most people already have him rostered because of the cheat code aspect of just him, being that sort of player. But I think he's a good start in the right situation. And obviously he's not going to get, he's not going to be the tight end 2 every week like he was this past week. But I think he has a pretty steady floor of at least 5 points. And I know that sounds really low, but look, Dawson Knox, 1 catch, 5 yards, and Joe. I mean, all these guys got like nothing this week.
Yeah.
At least with Hill, I feel pretty good about him having a pretty decent floor for a tight end. So I love it. There's a lot of people saying, hey, they don't want anything to do with him, and that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you. I understand his, big rush was, you could argue it was fluky. His touchdown kind of fluky. I get it. But I just think there's enough there, especially now with Kamara banged up. I just think there's enough there to feel pretty good about Taysom Hill. So I just wanted to end on that note. Bryce, any thoughts on Hill or Knox?
No, I agree. I've been, again, not Dawson Knox is a guy I think that people were getting confused that this guy's talented when, I mean, he's an NFL athlete, right? He's talented, but he is not anything special. He's not like talent, like
relative to the other tight ends.
He is the production of a great offense. So if he's not getting the targets in the offense, which he doesn't get, there's no demand for targets for him because he's not a freak athlete, right? So if he's going to disappear all the time, and I just don't like that. Where I would rather have a tight end that I know is going to get consistent targets, or consistent touches. When we're talking about Taysom Hill, like there is a very good chance that the New Orleans Saints will come out in that wildcat formation at least one drive every week, right? Like or it's a red zone package or something. Taysom Hill is a guy that will catch, run, or pass touchdowns. It has the ability to do that every week. He'll have at least one of each by the end of the season. So I feel completely comfortable plugging him in my lineup over guys like, I put Dawson Knox in the middle of the pack like you did. Guys like Njoku, Dawson Knox, even Hunter Henry, just guys like that. So I agree.
Even your boy Jonnu?
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly don't want to touch any part of the Patriots offense besides probably Jacoby Meyer as a flex option. That's the only guy I feel comfortable with. So,
and I did check. Taysom Hill was the tight end 3 this week. OJ Howard, extremely fluky, 2 touchdowns.
Who was on the Bills. Before training camp. And I even made a prediction that OJ Howard would eventually take over. I think the Bills made a mistake by releasing him. I really think that he is much more talented. Like, he would be a better guy to have on that offense. But, I'm not there at practices and stuff like that. Just the eye test I get to see on Sundays. So I'll go into mine real quick, and then we'll get to these questions. Travis Kelsey. Like, what do we say, right? He had 8 for 121 and a touchdown. Travis Kelsey's Travis Kelsey. Like, got to mention it. Like, the dude went off. He's getting older, but he consistently just keeps putting.
And now he's like the focal point of this offense. It's really cool.
Like his volume and targets are going to be great. And tight ends last a little bit longer, right? Like, Tony Gonzalez had a long career. It wouldn't surprise me to see Travis Kelsey have that similar production later in his career as well, especially if he's paired with Pat Mahomes during it. And then the guy that really disappointed me this week was definitely Cole Kmet. I mean, absolutely did nothing. 0 points. Can't do any worse unless, I guess, he caught the ball at the 1 yard line and fumbled or something.
It happens. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Well, James Cook got negative points, right?
I've seen it happen.
We have seen it. But I am not too worried about Cole Kmet. This again, the weather was horrible. Like, it's just not an ideal situation for anybody. I think when we get a dry field where, like, the timing and things like that are able to be performed in a better, that offense will get Cole Kmet involved. Like, I was watching highlights in that game, and they were just like, dudes, just broken plays, like, all over the place. So I expect once we get a better situation, Cole Kmet will produce at a higher level to where he's kind of like on the outside of that top 10 that we just mentioned about kind of looking in, is what I expect.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Both your guys agree 100%. Perfect.
All right. Well, let's get into some of these questions. I'm not sure to pronounce this. I'm just going to say Mr. Palillo or Palillo if it's Spanish, I guess. I traded for Keenan Allen and gave up Michael Thomas and D-Hop. What do you guys think?
I'd rather have Keenan Allen.
I would assume you'd rather have Keenan Allen over Michael Thomas and
redraft. In redraft, yeah.
Ooh, I don't know. I think I'd rather
PPR.
I think I'd rather have Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins. Like, I think Michael Thomas, if you can go at least like 3-3, 4-2, like if you had Michael Thomas in your lineup, there's a good chance you might have won because you probably didn't draft him as your wide receiver 2. He's probably a flex play for you. And then you get back to week 7 when D-Hop comes back and he's in your lineup with Michael Thomas. Like,
maybe I'm not sure if Thomas is going to hold up.
Why not?
Because he's older and he hasn't played in 2 seasons.
How much older is he than Keenan Allen?
And he hasn't played in 2 seasons.
Well, they should be completely healthy then, right?
I don't know.
Keenan Allen's
That's not how it works, buddy. I'm telling you, man, when you get older, it's not how it works.
You get a whole 2 year here. Like 2 years off. You should be healthy.
Yeah, it sucks that Keenan Allen's
how old you are.
It sucks that I don't know how long Keenan Allen's going to be out for. And if you trade, if you did this trade,
you already got a hamstring.
Yeah, and if you did this trade before he got hurt, like that kind of sucks. In redraft, I like to consolidate assets if I can to free up bench spots. So in redraft,
Michael Thomas is younger than Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I know. I like to consolidate bench spots if I can, and so this would be a way where you can consolidate a spot. So it kind of depends on your roster makeup, but if you can package Hopkins and I guess. If you would have done it after this week, after Keenan Allen got hurt, you probably could have got more from Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins. So that kind of sucks. But I don't think it's that bad. I like consolidating assets. I like freeing up bench spots in the redraft league. So I don't hate it. But I think maybe you are right, especially now with the injury. With
definitely could have got more. I mean, it's not like I feel like Keenan Allen for Michael Thomas straight up would be a little bit like especially with now Keenan Allen having a hamstring injury, who knows if this is something that's
I think you're right.
the rest of the year.
You swayed me on that. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's terrible, but I think if you would have waited till after the game, it might have been a little bit better of a return.
When DeAndre Hopkins comes back, it's not going to be they're going to wean him back. He's going to come back ready. Like he's not coming off an injury. He's going to get peppered.
We'll see.
Kyler Murray is not good unless he is targeting DeAndre
Kyler Murray may not even be active. Who knows what's going to happen that far from now?
No, okay. Well, we can't.
I'm just saying.
Like quarterbacks usually stay healthy. Like there's a high percentage Kyler Murray will be playing when DeAndre Hopkins gets back, and when he does, he's going to get absolutely peppered.
We'll see.
So, Connor asks, "I'm giving up Pitts. I was sent an offer. He'd be giving up Pitts, T. Higgins, Mooney. I don't know who Greg Joseph is.
Kicker for the Vikings, I think.
Okay, so Pitts, T. Higgins, and Mooney. I don't pay attention to kickers and trades. Gabe Davis, T.J. Hawkinson, Allen Robinson, Williams. No, I'd keep Pitts and T. Higgins. And
yeah.
I
no
think
matter the format.
This guy is doing a good job. This guy sending you this offer is doing a great job at trying to buy low, though. Like I'll give him that. Like all three of the dudes on your side underperformed, and he had Gabe Davis who overperformed. And I'm not sure how T.J. Hawkinson did, but Allen Robinson obviously underperformed.
Hawkinson did okay.
Yeah,
he's just trying to upgrade. He's trying to upgrade Hawkinson.
Sell on this Gabe Davis hype.
And he's trying to upgrade Hawkinson to Pitts.
Yeah.
And he's trying to.
He's trying to update Gabe Davis to T. Higgins too.
Yeah, and he's trying to upgrade Allen Robinson to Mooney. I see through this.
Having Swift, Barkley, and Lamar as your core is very nice, though. Should be.
Don't do this trade.
Don't do this trade, though. Let your guys get healthy. They're gonna see.
You'll be fine.
They're gonna have better days. He said he'd be getting Tyler Bass on that trade, but I didn't even know.
Yeah, no. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, hey, asked, would you trade?
No, it's hey, yeah. It's comma, hey. Hey, yeah.
Hey. Would you trade Miles Sanders and Jalen Waddle for Javonte Williams? Already have Deontay, Judy. Then he has Josh Allen and Gabe Davis.
Oh, that's close, man.
So I wish I had some context if this was redraft. I'm assuming it probably is. Man, I don't know. I'm going to answer it both ways. I think, man, that's hard.
That's really hard.
You're starting Gabe Davis, Deontay Johnson, and Judy, and then you're upgrading pretty big at running back, right? I think if this were redraft, I would hold on to Miles Sanders and Jalen Waddle.
I agree with that.
Just because Melvin Gordon's still there and he's getting a decent amount. Like Javonte's the man still, but Melvin Gordon's involved.
But in Dynasty,
I think I would take the Javonte Williams side.
That's
close. Like it's
really close for me. I don't really know. I mean, that's so close.
It's a fair trade in a dynasty.
It's a very fair trade. I mean, I guess if you feel comfortable with running back, I don't really know who their running backs are. So that's part of the issue too. Is I don't know what other running backs they have. If they need Javonte Williams, that's part of the problem. But it's a fair trade. I can see it both ways. But in dynasty, I mean, in redraft, I'd stick with Miles Sanders and Waddle.
I think I would too.
Yeah.
What a guy, Chris asked, should I trade Tyrique and Clyde Edwards-Hilaire for A.J. Brown and Dillon? I think it's Pacheco season, and I like A.J. Brown and Hurts connection more. I would take A.J. Brown and Dillon.
In redraft, I would.
And redraft is closer, definitely. But I still think that, oh, man, if it's redraft, I don't know.
Yeah, if it's redraft, I'm keeping Tyrique and CEH.
It's a fair trade either way. Like, I don't think there's a wrong side.
In redraft, I'm keeping Tyrique. In Dynasty, I want the A.J. Brown and Dillon side.
If you know what? If you like A.J. Brown more, get your guy. And that's what my opinion would be on this one because I like both sides of this trade. I think that you're really kind of splitting hairs both ways.
The other thing is it's kind of a lateral trade. Like
it really is.
It's
right?
not really like
upgrading anywhere. I think that I like that. I think Dillon will get more touches.
Yeah, you're a CEH hater though. We already saw that earlier in the show.
I'm not a hater. I'm realistic on CEH. He is a low end mid to low end running back 2 value, and people might be valuing more than that, so I'd be trying to capitalize on it. Am I dumb to trade away Cooper Kupp for Gabe Davis and DeAndre Swift? No, I would trade that. I would take Gabe Davis and DeAndre Swift.
Yes, I would trade for Gabe Davis.
Probably both formats.
Yes, both formats. I would do that. Not DeAndre Swift's the top. What's funny is normally when people say, "Am I dumb?" It's like, yeah, that's dumb. But in this case, no, that's not dumb.
I think that Swift and Barkley are the 2 guys that I think will be like one of those 2 will be running back 1 this year. And I've said that before that, just 2 of the guys that I think have a really good chance of being up there.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And Swift could have such a much better game if they would have given him the ball on the 1-yard line. They kept giving it to Jamal. He could have been into that game with 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Start 4 if they are all healthy. Chase, Samuel, Higgins, A.J. Brown, and Gabe Davis. This answer might be made for you with Higgins and the concussion.
Either way, even if he's starting, I'm going to just start Chase.
Yeah, I mean, Chase, Samuel, and A.J. Brown are locks, right? It comes down to Higgins and Gabe Davis.
Yeah. And I'm going to start Gabe Davis over Higgins. You don't know for sure how much he's going to be on the field with his concussion anyway. Even if he's active, he may not even play.
What about like next week? You're asked the same question, and they're all healthy, perfectly healthy. Would your answer be the same with Gabe Davis over Higgins?
Maybe. I really don't like starting 2 wide receivers from the same team.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, if you can try to get creative and trade Chase to get Justin Jefferson or Cooper Kupp or something like that, get some other pieces back.
Well, in a redraft, I would trade for Cooper Kupp, but I would.
But even in a dynasty, I mean, you could trade Chase, get Kupp and another piece back, or
maybe.
You could do something like that. That way you don't have to worry about that anymore, and you can still balance out that.
Definitely for this week, Kobe Shorts. I'd be benching Higgins just for the concussion situation.
Yeah.
Should I make any moves on my team? QBs are Russ, Lance, running backs Mixon, Kamara, Hall, Pierce, Algier.
Well, you should always make moves on your team. So yes, of these guys, Mixon, Kamara, Hall, Pierce. I mean, I think Algier is a drop candidate in redraft. He wasn't active in week 1. I know Damian Williams got banged up. Maybe he'll have more of a role. But when you have short benches, I mean, it's like you can't. It's almost impossible to hold on to these stashes. I mean, especially once bye weeks come along. So it depends on who's available on your waiver wire. Albert O. I mean, he's not a startable tight end. I mean, as much as anyone else is in the league.
Yeah, he had 9 points. He didn't do bad.
Dobbs. With Lazard being back, Dobbs. I mean, is Dobbs really going to be a thing? I mean, I doubt it. In redraft, I mean,
well, you got a good. I mean, I like mixing Kamara and Pittman, right? I mean, especially in redraft situations, it's going to be hard to trade Hall or Pierce until they have like a really good week.
Same with Lance. I would want to trade Lance, but you can't until he has a good game.
Right. Might have to hold on. I'd grab some guys off the waiver wire if you can. I'd definitely be looking to get I'd be dropping Algier for Jeff Wilson for sure.
Right.
He's available. See if Josh Palmer is on the waiver wire. I would be dropping Doubs for Josh Palmer. I think that's something I'd be looking to do. Any tight ends on the waiver wire, maybe guys in your league passed on Logan Thomas. I liked he didn't get a ton of usage, but he got a little bit this week 1. And he was kind of banged up the whole offseason.
And Curtis Samuel. I mean, you could draw
Curtis Samuel. Yeah. That's a guy I've been getting in all my leagues, so I don't know why I forgot to mention him. So, yeah, there's always things it's hard to answer that question without specific guys maybe you'd be looking to try and acquire, but those are some things I'd be looking at on the waiver wire at least. 12-team running backs are Swift and Akers, so need a new running back too. Wide receivers are Diggs, DJ Moore, Amon-Ra, Brandon Cooks, Gabe Davis, and Vontae Smith. What running back should I try and trade for, and who should I trade? I can start this off, but I'd be looking to get Rashad Penny.
You don't want CEH?
No, you're going to have to pay more. 100% you're going to have to pay more. I'd be looking to get rid of DJ, especially if this is redraft. I'd be definitely looking to get rid of DJ Moore and see if you can go get Rashad Penny and maybe like another bench piece that has like a high upside. But I don't like DJ Moore. I think your wide receivers are just fine with Diggs, Amon-Ra, and
And
Brandon
Devonta
Cooks
Smith.
and Gabe Davis. It'd be going to be hard to sell Devonta Smith after putting up a goose egg.
Yeah, Moore. I don't know.
I think DJ Moore will be a little bit easier to sell because he's had previous years of success. So
I agree with that.
Concern.
I agree with everything you're saying. I wouldn't trade DJ Moore for Rashad Penny.
I'd be trying to get another piece with it for sure. But what other running back do you think you can get for DJ Moore straight up? What running back?
David Montgomery.
I'd rather have Rashad Penny than David Montgomery.
No way.
Yeah.
We agree to disagree there.
David Montgomery's in a committee now. Khalil Herbert is not going anywhere. He got 10 carries.
I don't. You say you don't think Ken Walker exists and was drafted in the rookie draft. I don't know.
Ken Walker is not going to be I've been telling people this like since he got drafted. Ken Walker is not going to come in here and demand immediate touches. Like Rashad Penny is good. Like he's obviously getting older, but because he didn't get to play in his younger years, but he's healthy and he's good. He's not going anywhere. Like it's just not going to happen. He's going to demand most of the touches. Sure, Ken Walker might come in and get the ball 5 or 6 times, but Rashad Penny's going to see over 12 touches, I think, consistently.
He just had 12 this game when Ken Walker wasn't active.
12 consistently.
No.
You're going to see over 12 or more consistently. He had more than 12 touches. He had 13 or 14 touches.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
All right. I agree with Mr.
DJ
Nick.
Moore is
Give me Mr. Nick on the screen. Get
Huh?
Mr. Nick on the screen. Scroll down to Mr. Nick. Get Mr. Nick on the screen.
Ken Walker's coming. We'll see.
Yes.
We'll see. He might be coming to back up a better running back.
Is that a teddy bear? His little picture? Is that a teddy bear?
Looks like I'm not sure what that is.
I think at a closer look, it's not something I wanted to look at super.
Oh,
quick.
yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's get Mr.
If you
Nick
drafted
off.
Mike Williams, you should know that this is what he is. Start him every week. He's healthy, so you get his blowout games. Yeah,
I mean it's risky. I think it's way less risky when Keenan Allen's not playing though. So for me, he's a must start this week.
I traded CD and Etienne for Javonte and St. Brown last week in a redraft. I would much rather have the Javonte and St. Brown.
Hell yes. Good job. See, this guy knows what he's talking about. Oh, it's not Mr. Nick. Is it Mr. Nick?
Yeah, it's Mr. Nick.
This guy, I'm telling you, and he knows about the Ken Walker show coming to town too.
Okay, we'll see. We will see. MVS or Hardman? MVS.
Oh, it's MVS, but that is not a good spot. Nasty Nate, you can't do better than MVS or Hardman?
This looks like a dynasty question.
Yeah, see if you can add Curtis Samuel. Something. Man, that's tough.
Palmer,
that's
Curtis Samuel. I'd rather start both of them. This guy also said I also have Palmer as well. What was his question? Oh, he's the one. Should I make any moves on my team?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He said he has Palmer. Yeah. Okay. So that's good. Yeah. Cool. Got one of the guys we recommended getting off the waiver wire.
Yeah, I would try to get Curtis Samuel. I try to get Taysom Hill, or even like Gerald Everett or Robert Tonyan. I think they're all.
I think out of these wide receivers right here, I would be starting. If you picked up Curtis Samuel, I'd be starting him, Pittman, and Bateman. If you picked him up, if you had to start 3 wide receivers, actually, if you had to start 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a flex, it'd be Mixon, Kamara, Pittman, Bateman, and Curtis Samuel for me.
Russell Wilson.
Yeah, Russ
and
Alberto's
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, if you get Taysom Hill, I like it. Oh, it's a samurai bear. Oh, okay, that's a samurai.
I don't know what a samurai bear is. I'm gonna Google that later.
I don't know, but
is that safe for work? Can I Google samurai bear later? I don't know what that is.
I don't know, but it didn't look like a samurai in the thumbnail picture. It looked like something else. He even has the laugh. So yeah, he knew what we thought it looked.
I love it.
That's it for questions. All right, we're out of time. So everyone, thanks for coming in and asking questions. It's great being in season. Makes these shows much better when we get to answer some questions, get to disagree. Clyde Edwards-Hilaire is obviously not as good as Rashad Penny. Neither is Ken Walker. We'll see. We'll just let the numbers speak for themselves here in the future. But everyone, thank you so much for joining in this week, and we will be back next week for some week 2 recap. I'm not sure what we'll do yet. We'll figure it out once we get close. But thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah. Good night. Thanks.
See ya.